interview.
I was telling my son to get out of the damn truck. Get out of the truck, son.
It was a heart-stopping moment.
His family reveals dramatic new details.
Have you ever watched a scary movie and the villain's eyes turn black? It was in real life, and it scared the living hell out of me.
There's a side of this story that hasn't been told.
Talking about vampires and werewolves and wanting to suck your blood. He tries to blow his brains out.
It hurt me so deeply that my child could do this.
Did the jury get this right?
Did you hear he said, did the jury get this right? I'm telling you, when you hear what these people have to say, I'm going to skip way forward here. Because he's going to talk about all that happened. And we already know what happened. Let's skip ahead to right here. Right here. Oops. Let me hit play.
The brother who has become one of the most hated figures in modern times. The man they say desperately needed help. Well, I know that y'all must be absolutely heartbroken over this, and I understand mental illness. That's why I wanted to do this interview. I don't know what all the issues are, but I want to help you get those answers. There's a side of this story that hasn't been told, and I want it told.
That's why we didn't go to the news channel. We want to at least get our statement out here that the best as we can. Because this wasn't my son that did this. It was his body that did it, but it wasn't him in his right mind. They think our kid is a villain. I mean, just the evilest son of a bitch on the face of this earth. He's a decent young man that something snapped in him. Something snapped in my son.
You're saying he's being portrayed as the most evil son of a bitch on the planet, and what he did is an evil act. You agree with that, right?
Yes.
His behavior to go out there and shoot these two young men multiple times in the back and the head and murder them in cold blood.
It's wrong.
Egregious and wrong.
It's unacceptable.
But you're saying, why did my son do this? Let's start with that. What is it you want people to know about Eddie that they don't know?
Eddie was a good man.
He still is a good man.
He is a good man.
Let's talk about who he was before he went into the military. He went to the same high school that Chris Kyle graduated from.
Yes.
I know the record said a security guard at the school described him as always ready to fight and had a chip on his shoulder.
I believe that's unfair. I think he did pretty good in school. He had lots of friends through the ag program and through football.
Why did he move out of y'all's house and in with his aunt in 2004?
You want me to tell you the truth about it? Our rules are strict.
What was he wanting to do that was not okay?
Party all the time, not be respectful of his parents.
Wanted to drink, smoke pot and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, within the year, his uncle ODs on morphine.
My dad died the same day.
Sorry, that's a tough day for you. You lose 2 in a day.
Pretty much.
So your dad passes on the same day that the uncle overdoses on morphine.
Yes.
So we know this was in Eddie's sphere of existence. We know it's around.
Right.
Do we know if he was taking any morphine?
No.
At this point, are you seeing any unusual behavior out of him? No hallucinations, no delusions, no behavior that you're going, oh, not okay?
None whatsoever.
No, sir.
Okay. In 06, he signs up for the Marines, goes into boot camp, gets a citation for meritorious distinction.
Yes, he gets promotion to private first class there.
Right. In 07, he's deployed to Iraq, and at this point still, you're not seeing anything bizarre?
Nothing.
So he goes to Iraq, and he comes back, and there's this massive earthquake in Haiti that just destroys the country. And he is deployed on humanitarian assignment. What did he say had impacted him while he was there?
His comment to me was, Mom, They didn't train me to go and see the devastation that I saw, and that was really hard for him. And he was always very concerned about children in America being hungry, having shelter. He was so concerned about wasting food that was in our refrigerator, even if it was 2 or 3 weeks old and I was going to throw it out. He wouldn't allow me to throw it out. He would eat it.
But was there anything that he saw in Haiti that he reported to you that you think might have created PTSD with him?
Well, one thing he saw were a lot of dead bodies. And that was one of the things he said. They didn't train me to pick up bodies off the beach and dump them in a dump truck.
At this point, we're at the end of the summer in 2010. He leaves active duty, and he gets a job as a military contractor.
Yes.
But he leaves after 5 months and comes home. Why?
Panic attacks.
Okay.
Just flying.
He's not liking the flying.
No, sir.
So he gets a job in Houston in 2011, putting up siding on storage buildings.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
He has a heat stroke.
Yes.
This is when he starts talking about a tapeworm.
Yes. He was so incredibly obsessed that he had this tapeworm and that it was eating him from the inside out. It was eating his muscles. He was eating ravenously, just everything he could get his hands on.
Okay, he's checked. He doesn't have a tapeworm.
No, he sure didn't.
He thinks the whole family's got tapeworms.
Yeah, he
Have you
was
any idea where this comes from?
none.
You take him to the lake to spend some time with him. He starts talking bizarre there. What's he talking about?
Talking about vampires and werewolves and wanting to suck your blood. And by this time, he goes up there to the trunk of the car and tries to get my pistol and tries to blow his brains out.
Why does he want to blow his brains out?
He's sick of the living with this stuff in his head.
A week or so before the incident at the lake, he asked me, "Mom, take me to the hospital. I'm not good." He meant that his thoughts and what he was thinking about was not good. We took him to the hospital, and he was there for like 3 days, and because he self-admitted, when he said he was fine, they let him go. Even though he was still having these wild thoughts and thinking that there's a new world order and maybe he's the Messiah, maybe I'm Satan. And, you know, he really did not know what was going on, but he knew he needed help.
And understand, I've not met Eddie yet at this point, but I have to tell you, none of this sounds like PTSD. This sounds like severe mental illness.
But the only thing we were told by the doctors was that there was psychosis, not otherwise specified, and PTSD.
Well, you're also seeing hallucinations and delusions and things that don't necessarily have anything at all to do with PTSD, and they're appearing absent triggers.
We're seeing a lot of staring into space, not knowing when someone speaks to him, not responding.
Falling on the deck after nail guns going off.
Right. I mean, clearly there are some things that could be consistent with PTSD, but it seems much more severe.
Right. And I have not had the opportunity to watch the show that you did with a young man with PTSD, but a dear friend watched it and started emailing and calling me immediately. Dr. Phil's doing a show, and it's Eddie to a T.
Well, clearly he has a severe mental illness, and oftentimes there's comorbidity. These things exist together.
Well, when he was in the hospital for the 9 days or whatever it is, and the doctor come up to me and said, "Do your son look any better to you?" And I said, "Hell no, he don't look no goddamn better." And guess what? They let him out the next day. That's what I don't understand about this.
So he's in and out of mental wards. You say he needs to remain. And then January 2013, you approach Chris Kyle at the school, correct? And you do it specifically because you've been told that Eddie has PTSD.
Absolutely. And Chris had a Fitco Cares, which was an organization that he led in order to help veterans with PTSD, and I'm at my wit's end to get some help for my child.
What did you say to Chris that day?
Coming up.
You had absolutely no idea that asking him for help, that a week later he would murder Chris Kyle and Chad Littlefield.
I would have never asked if I had an idea that this could happen. I needed help for my son.
Did you tell Chris that he had been paranoid, that he had taken weapons, that he had a history of drugs and alcohol? What did you say to Chris that day?
I said, Chris, would you be willing to help my son? He's a former Marine, and he has PTSD, and he really needs some help, and we're not getting what we need. And he said, yes, I would be willing to help. And that was my first day in several years that I really felt like anybody even cared if Eddie got the help he needed or not.
Now, this is what really, really, really pisses me off, is this country, the way they treat vets. I mean, they get these guys and they force them to go and do... I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I couldn't pick a dead dog up if I needed to. I mean, and I know I'm not a man, but I'm a person, you know. And I don't know too many of you out there that could. I mean, some of you can't even take, you know, you chimp out when somebody says, change your name back. I'm joking. But what I'm trying to say here is what this guy had to do in Haiti, there's no telling. I mean, and I know everybody says, oh, well, you know, this, that, and the other. No, it's not that. And the way this country treats them. Now, I'm quite sure if Barack Obama's wife was having PTSD, she would get top-notch care. You don't turn a nutcase loose. You don't. You keep them locked up, especially if you believe that they could be a danger to themselves, because, you know, people that commit suicide, they've killed somebody. They've killed themselves, so they are actually dangerous. And I would have been afraid. I mean, you know what I would have done if this would have been Stephen. I would have prostituted myself to put him in the best place I could. And I would, and I will, and I'm telling you that because I would just, you know, and, you know, they just let him go. But wait till you hear what she says next.
It's all right.
His trip to the hospital was not giving him the help he needed. And I had so very...
Let me tell you how messed up some of these people at the VA hospital are. Dave, he's in my chat room sometimes, and he goes by the name Beantown. He's practically like a son of mine. He's my nephew. He's my brother's son. He was playing in a golf tournament in the town where the VA hospital is, and the country club is actually backs up to the VA hospital. Well, we had spent the night in a hotel, and it was really fun. We get out there early that morning, and we're following Dave around, and he's playing in his flight. And David and I, my brother, were kind of walking together, and we noticed on the other side of this kind of a chain link fence, it wasn't barbed wire or nothing, there were hundreds and hundreds of golf balls. And David said, man, I bet there's some fucking Titleists out there. You know, and nobody's, you know, whatever. So David jumps over the fence, and he starts grabbing these golf balls, which is no big deal. He wasn't stealing them. They were just dead balls that had been out there forever. They were nowhere around play. Well, while he was over there, I mean, he'd really collected quite a few of them. And a security guard comes driving up on one of these little carts, and he says to David, he says, and I heard him say this, he said, let me tell you something, you better get on the other side of that fence, He said, because there's some boys in here that will